Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a genuinely fascinating perspective on human history today. Let's be real, it's so easy to get totally caught up in the dark ages, the wars, and the endless cycles of destruction, right? I mean, those events are loud, they demand our attention, and they absolutely dominate the pages of our textbooks. But here's the thing. There is an entirely different story running right alongside all of that, a legacy defined by way more than just our darkest moments.
Because human history, it's not just the story of wars. And what's really captivating about this concept is how it draws our focus to what the source material beautifully calls the unseen ledger. Think about it. In the grand timeline of humanity, there is so much noise, but the stuff that's truly valuable, it's often completely silent. We're talking about those quiet but incredibly powerful moments of compassion, of sacrifice, of wisdom, and the relentless search for justice. These moments don't exactly make the front page, but they are literally the foundation of who we are. Which brings us to Section 1, Humanity's Unseen Ledger, sometimes called the Pearl Ledger of Mankind.
So imagine this grand ledger, right? And it's inscribed with these pearl-like notes. Every single time a mother fiercely protects her child, every time a scholar genuinely seeks out the truth, or whenever a doctor saves a life, it gets recorded. We usually assume our legacy is built purely on technological discoveries or mass production. But our true positive legacy is the painstaking process of learning how not to harm one another. It's the active construction of justice, the elevation of compassion, and developing this deep consciousness of trust. It's the realization of an entrusted existence, rather than just, building bigger machines and more complex gadgets. And that sets us up perfectly for Section 2, the crisis of meaning and the paradox of progress. The absolutely crucial point here is that humanity is not currently suffering from a lack of knowledge. I mean, let's face it, we have more knowledge at our fingertips than literally any generation before us. What we are suffering from is a profound lack of meaning. Just look at our relentless, almost obsessive modern pursuits. We are constantly asking, how can we be faster? How do we produce more? How do we optimize our morning routine to grow the economy? We are absolutely laser-focused on the how, and we've poured all of our energy into building these vast, impressive external machines. But almost no one is asking why. The crisis of meaning kicks off exactly when humanity loses that one simple question. The question of how just grows louder and louder, while the question of why falls completely silent. Our power has skyrocketed, sure, but our responsibility hasn't kept up. Our means have multiplied, but our actual purpose, it's become incredibly blurred. Somewhere along the line, we lost our inner direction.
And this right here is the paradox of the modern age. Our skyscrapers rise up to touch the clouds, and our data increases exponentially, but simultaneously, our inner world shrinks and true wisdom diminishes. Meaning is basically the inner architecture of the human being, and if that internal architecture collapses, well, even the grandest, tallest external structures are going to remain completely empty. We've reached this unprecedented technical capacity, but we've completely failed to mend the fragility of the human heart.
So let's move on to our next core concept, Section 3, the burden of power and carrying the fire. Because look, the problem we're discussing isn't science itself. Science provides light. Think of it like this. The fire placed in human hands is a totally neutral power. It can either warm a home and sustain life, or it can be used to burn a city to the ground. And that perfectly captures what our legacy demands of us. It doesn't ask for the elevation of the sword, unchecked raw power. Instead, it asks for the balance of the scale. Power itself doesn't make a person or a civilization great. It is entirely about how we carry that power. We absolutely need that true balance. But to actually achieve that balance, we have to totally rethink what meaning actually is. Meaning is the awareness that one is entrusted. We aren't talking about meaning as some abstract, untouchable, pie-in-the-sky philosophical thought. No, it is the crucial inner compass, that inner law that determines exactly where our power should be directed. If a human being sees themselves not just as a random accident, but as a bearer of trust, their entire relationship with the world completely shifts. Which leads us right into the final phase of our explainer, Section 4, the civilization of nearness and healing the inner world. Humanity has learned so much over the millennia. We have dug deep into the earth, we've measured the depths of the sky, we've split the atom, and we've named the stars. Yet, while conquering the entire outer world, we have severely neglected the inner one. And this brings us to the ultimate balancing point for human civilization. I am not the owner, I am the trustee. It is such a simple sentence, but whenever a human being holds power, simply remembering this shifts the entire paradigm. Without this awareness of being a trustee, Power just grows aimlessly, and direction is completely lost. But with this awareness, responsibility grows right alongside the power. When science operates about a heart, it just exploits. But when a human being acts as a bearer of trust, technology paired with compassion actually builds things up. If technology destroys our world today, the root cause isn't the metal or the code, it's the intention behind it. If science frightens us, the cause isn't the discovery itself, but the heartlessness driving it. When we step up and act as trustees, technology ceases to be an enemy. It actually stops destroying. So, what exactly happens when meaning finally returns to the center of the human heart? Well, true construction begins with compassion. Whenever meaning is forgotten, destruction accelerates. We see it all the time. But whenever meaning is remembered, true construction begins. The future of humanity depends far less on producing shiny new machines and much more on producing this new consciousness, a consciousness that actually keeps the pure positive legacy of the past alive today. And as we continue to shift that consciousness, as meaning returns to the heart, technology basically kneels into service. Science stops producing arrogance and instead, it produces wonder. The incredible machines we build stop dictating the frantic pace of our lives and start truly serving humanity's deeper purpose. Technology becomes a servant to human flourishing, rather than our master. Ultimately, power bows to responsibility, because true greatness is determined solely by how we carry our power. When faith and ethics give direction to that power, we replace our fear of the future with trust. It's a real game changer. When the direction of the heart is corrected in this way, the world slowly begins to heal. And then, humanity can rise outwardly, while simultaneously deepening inwardly. Civilization literally becomes human again. Which brings us to our final, provocative thought. In the end, you realize that meaning was never actually lost. It was only waiting to be called upon. That positive legacy of humanity, that unseen pearl-like ledger of compassion, justice, and trust, it's still right there in our hands. You are a trustee of this legacy. So the only question left to answer is, will we read the ledger? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I genuinely hope this leaves you with something profound to reflect on today.